WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. From politics to entertainment, from social issues to lifestyles, from newsmakers to pop culture. If it's Jersey, it's on Jersey Central with Burt Barron, 732-545-9282. Or toll free at 888-545-9282. Your state, your home, your voice. Jersey Central with Burt Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
737 on Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. Good morning to you. It's Burt's. We've got cloudy skies, 37. We'll get near 60 today. Traffic and weather update coming up at 7:45, and sometime between now and 8 o'clock, we will have our contest. Next chance for you to win the family 4-pack of tickets, Generations, Influences from the Modern Age, a brand new production by the incredible American Repertory Ballet. It is on stage this Friday night at McCarter Theater Center in Princeton. All right, you'll have a chance to win the 4 tickets coming up in just a little bit, so stay right there. Well, WCTC, of course, part of the Beasley Best Community of Caring and Beasley Media Group all April long, focusing on autism awareness. And my next special guest who's joining me on the Jersey Central Newsmaker Hotline is an author, written a book that's making some waves throughout the autism community and beyond. The book is called Autism Uncensored, Pulling Back the Curtain. It was just released. And my guest foregoes sugarcoating and bravely reveals the struggles and triumphs of raising her autistic son. Her wish is for that others impacted by autism and those wanting to seek help will find useful insight and ultimately hope from her journey. Gives me pleasure to welcome Whitney Ellenby to WCTC this morning. Whitney, good morning. It's Burt Barron. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking some time today. And really, this book sounds like it says some things that need to be said, instead of just kind of tap dancing around the issues and just trying to, use words that maybe aren't so intense. It sounds to me like you kind of strip away the nonsense and you kind of get right down to the heart of the issue here, right?
That is absolutely the point of the book, is to talk about, quite frankly, how brutal it can be as a parent coping with a child with autism. And then I think I have credibility with the reader because I am so uncensored and honest about it. And so when I get into how it can also be really joyful and ways of shedding shame and embarrassment, I think the fact that I've been so brutally honest in the beginning gives me credibility when I say it can get so much better.
Your son, Zach, what was it like when you got the diagnosis there? And it's life-changing for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, right, Whitney?
Oh, absolutely. It was life-changing for me in many ways. It was awful, to be honest. I was not expecting it. I knew that there were certain ways he was off, but I never dreamed. He got the diagnosis at about 19 months. I never put together the symptoms, and they didn't present so sharply in him that I was prepared to hear anything other than, well, he's developmentally delayed, and he'll need a little speech therapy, things like that. And after a battery of tests, by a pediatric neurologist, I was told he's on the spectrum and he actually has an incurable lifelong brain disorder, and the prognosis wasn't so great. He's going to need early intervention as much as 40 hours per week. So it was devastating, frankly. I wasn't prepared emotionally. I wasn't prepared from a career perspective. I had been an attorney, and I ended up resigning my job so I could take over his home therapy, but I don't pretend that I was happy about that. That was just sort of a devastating news to get.
Yeah, and I'm sure you learned right away, Whitney, that there's no parenting handbook. There's no Autism 101 book that you could just refer to, and there really is no right way. I think that every family and every parent, the situation is different, right? There's no right way to raise an autistic child, is there?
That's absolutely right. What I did was a combination of, I followed the traditional interventions for years. And then I saw that things really weren't moving Zach where he needed to go. So then I did more of a tough love, taking matters into my own hands. And that's part of what creates controversy around the book, but I think your point is an excellent one, which is, had I remained with the traditional, more accepted therapy and taken a more passive role, I don't think he would have gotten to be as strong as he is today.
And that probably comes from you. I mean, I'm sure you've had to display incredible strength and courage in your journey along the way, too.
I have. And again, also that sort of uncensored applies to me, which is I had to accept, and thank you for saying that, I had to accept at some point when he was around 5 years old, you know what, this child is never going to recover.
Yeah.
And even though I'd been watching it happen year after year and the gulf between him and typical kids was widening, it's another thing to acknowledge this thing you've been chasing for years and hemorrhaging money and all your energy on isn't going to yield the results. All that hard work isn't paying off. And so at that point, I found it almost liberating. But by the time I took matters into my own hands, it was partly courage, but it was also partly desperation. It was nothing else is working. This child is having public meltdowns everywhere we go, and we are increasingly moving to home confinement because we can't get him out. So It was also equal doses desperation.
Sure. Talk about community support that you've seen along the way, and if also the work of Autism Ambassadors, which you founded. Talk about those two things, if you would.
Sure. So at the time that Zach was diagnosed, we're going back, a good 15 years, there wasn't a great deal of community support. There was some awareness, and it was just bursting on the scene. There were none of what we have now, which is the sensory-friendly, adapted experiences. So now they have things like, sensory-friendly movies and performances and even, simulated plane rides so that kids with autism, because the demographic is so big, get a chance to sort of experience things on their own disabled terms. So, for instance, with a movie, they may reserve a theater just for sensory-friendly performance, so kids like Zach can go in there and they can bounce and flap and yelp and not disturb the general public. And that ties into what I do, which I've been doing for about 10 years, is I started to realize as Zach got better and better at navigating the world, that in order to help other people do that, I wanted to create sort of a room of our own. And so I started renting out facilities all around town, everything from movie theaters to indoor and outdoor splash parks. I even brought in a performance from New York City, and I made it exclusively for families who had children on the spectrum of all ages, all abilities, but no general public was allowed because this was the chance for them to just be themselves and not worry about creating a disturbance that might ruin the experience for the general public. And it would also give the parents a chance to kind of let their hair down and realize that they didn't have to apologize because they were among everybody else and we all got it.
Exactly. And the Autism Ambassadors, is that something that's kind of gaining some traction across the country, or at least the region of the country where you are?
I wish I could say it did. No, it's something that I started on my own. I have hoped that bigger groups like Autism Speaks and other groups that have the financial resources to piggyback on what I'm doing would do that. I intend to keep advocating and pushing to sort of make sensory-friendly the law of the land. But as of now, I am the only one that I'm aware of that does this sort of regular twice-a-month divided by age experiences for the autism community, and I'm in the D.C. area.
All right. Well, being on this program today is going to help you, and I say that because 2 weeks ago I had a live in-studio performance of a song that was written by a family impacted by autism. They played the song live here, and in a short period of time, it's receiving national airplay. So
I'd love to hear it.
This will grow. I will send you the link. It's called Unstoppable. I will make sure you get a link to this record.
Thank
it's
you.
An artist,
That's
a local artist named Tommy Byrne, and I'm going to send you the link there. And I think there's some synergy here, and I think there's some potential here. The book, again, Whitney Ellenby, it's called Autism Uncensored, Pulling Back the Curtain. The major retailers, online stores, how do we get a copy of the book?
Oh, thank you for asking. You can get it at the major retailers, Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. I'm getting it into the indie bookstores, but if you want it quickly, and discounted,
okay,
go to those two sites. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as we wind up here, Whitney, somewhere in America today, maybe right here in New Jersey where I do this radio show from every day, there is a family that will receive news that they have an autistic child.
Yes, they will.
What's the first thing that you would like to say to them, or do you want them to know?
I would like them to know just a couple quick things. Number one, shed the shame. If your child starts to develop the characteristic behaviors of the flapping, the yelping, it's okay. Get them out in public early and often. All you have to do if there is disruptive behavior is say things like, you know what, my child has autism. I'm working with him. Don't be afraid to disclose it. You'll be shocked, particularly in New Jersey, by the way, which is what we think of as one of the hotbeds of autism, where there is a dense concentration. Maryland is the same. People get it, and people want to help. They just need to understand what's going on. And the other thing I would say is trust your gut regarding interventions. Don't hang in there more than a year, let's say, if you're not seeing meaningful progress from whatever therapeutic intervention you're using. That was a mistake I made. And if I had to go back, I would have said that, after giving it 9 months, I'm not seeing this child get any more words or be more socially connected. And I kept getting talked into spending more money and sticking with it, and it'll come. Don't do that. Don't be afraid to shake it up and try different things if you're not seeing that sort of real-world progress and functionality that you need.
Okay. Whitney Ellenby, thank you so much for your time today. Your strength and courage is admirable, and the book here is it's needed. When you say what needs to be said, sometimes people don't like it, but you know what? Brutal honesty can be a wonderful thing sometimes. So
I agree. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Congratulations with the book, and great speaking to you today, okay?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right, Whitney Ellenby, my guest here on Jersey Central. The book, again, called Autism Uncensored, Pulling Back the Curtain, and WCTC, part of the Beasley Best Community of Caring. We've been featuring weekly features and segments and interviews, and we will continue along for the rest of the month of April.